Well, hello my friends. I want to thank you for taking the time out to hang with me and talk some Magic. Today we're going to be talking about another Oathbreaker deck, one that is in one of the hardest color combinations to build around, Boros. I set out a few months ago to build a Boros colored deck that could address its shortcomings and make something that I could have fun playing and have a decent shot at winning with. Ajani Vengeant seems to be the guy for the job, at least for Oathbreaker. I'm about finished with the commander list for this color combination. Ajani is a 3 loyalty Planeswalker for 4 mana who has 3 abilities. His +1 taps down a target permanent, and that permanent is not untapped during its controller's next untap step. His -2 deals 3 damage to target creature or player, and then we gain 3 life. His ultimate, a -7, destroys all lands target player controls. So first off, this is the only iteration of Ajani at this moment that is not either mono-white or green-white, but in fact Boros colors. This is also a very control-savvy Ajani, something that I ran with for the strategy of the deck. I find that having the ability to tap down an opponent's permanent on a routine basis is excellent to restrain problem permanents from getting to us. His ultimate also is a very much game ender. The only problem with his abilities is the target they will surely put on us. The signature spell that I chose to go with for this deck is Deflecting Palm, and this is an excellent deterrent. For only 2 mana, the next time a source of our choice would deal damage to us this turn, we prevent that damage. And if damage is prevented that way, Deflecting Palm will then deal that much damage to that source's controller. So to TLDR this ability, if someone is swinging in with their small creature in an attempt to take us out before Ajani can go off, we can say nah and redirect that attack to the opponent. I like to think of this as the magic cylinder of magic. The only downside to this is that Deflecting Palm cannot be used to deflect damage off of Ajani, and so we do need to make sure we have other ways to control the opponent. So the rest of the deck by that route must be control. We are going to be going for a Boros control shell, a phrase that I feel weird saying out loud. Our deck aims to get a board presence in play fast, using disruptive tactics to throw opponents off their game. I'm going to take you through some of the key cards to this deck's strategy. First off, we have our control package. These are the cards that I've pulled from many of my defensive decks, and they work wonders protecting us from early game punches. Even Mind Sensor shuts off tutors, and with Flash is perfect disruption to an early game fetch land or a tutor spell. Grand Abolisher makes sure that we are free to do as we please on our turns with no interruptions from opponents. Thalia, Heretic Cathar, forces all creatures and non-basic lands our opponents play to enter the battlefield tapped, ensuring that they have a very slow start. This addresses Boros' lack of mana ramp by preventing opponents from using their ramp shenanigans. Aura of Silence makes opponents pay more for their artifacts and enchantments, and it's great removal for those card types in a pinch. Authority of Consuls and Blind Obedience both force opponents' creatures to enter the battlefield tapped, and Blind Obedience has Extort, which, for the 6 millionth time, does not mean it has a black-white color identity. Reminder text, my friends, does not have a bearing on color identity. Curse of Opulence is a unique form of ramp that we will utilize in this deck. Whenever the enchanted player is attacked, regardless of who is doing the attacking, we will get a gold token. And while not exactly gold, Smothering Tithe also gives us treasure each time an opponent draws a card, given that they don't pay the 2 mana to counter it. This is going to come into play a lot more later when we discuss our secondary strategy, so do remember to keep this card in mind. Stony Silence is absolutely brutal in most cases, as it shuts down all artifact activated abilities, and while we do run 5 artifacts, we can work around the stipulations set forth by this card. Meekstone keeps all creatures with power 3 or greater tapped down, making way for only the smallest of creatures to untap. This is excellent, given we will likely not wanting to be put our smaller creatures in the way of attacking or blocking. Our counterspell and removal package is unique in that we do have some nice answers to things. Lapse of Certainty, a white counterspell, is great for unsuspecting opponents. Path of Exile and Swords to Plowshares is your standard 1-drop removal spell pair, and Teferi's Protection is a great card to have in the event of someone being able to wipe us out while we were at the point where Ajani can go off next turn. So that first section of cards is designed to hold opponents off of attacking us, making it more advantageous to attack the other players and leave us alone. We also have the threat of Deflecting Palm to redirect the damage back at them should they not listen. I do often refer to this deck as the Don't At Me deck. The next section we will cover will be our secondary strategy, a hybrid burn and wheels section that is dedicated to throwing opponents off their games. So here we have our collection of wheels, each forcing opponents to reset their hands. Wheel of Fortune is not among these, mostly because I do have bills to pay and that card is absurdly expensive. But we do have some alternatives in the form of Collective Defiance, Incendiary Command, Molten Psyche, Reforge the Soul, Wheel of Fate, and Winds of Change. These each will force all players to discard their hands or shuffle them back into the deck and redraw. Remember that Smothering Tithe from earlier? This package of cards gives us an excellent opportunity to really go off the wall with Ramp, something most Boros players never experience. Teferi's Puzzle Box is also here as a nice deterrent to tutors and excessive card draw. Now, to work off of these card draw abilities, we do have something interesting here, what I refer to as an Izzet card draw engine of sorts. Built off of just one card, Psychosis Crawler, who is also in this deck, is a great option to start burning opponents for all that card draw we run, as this card's ability has inspired the entire engine for this deck. So between the instants and sorceries, we have 13 cards, and those will all work to our advantage using this Izzet package. Electrostatic Field, Firebrand Archer, Gutter Snipe, Thermo Alchemist, and Young Pyromancer all will give us tons of value for playing our instants and sorceries. Most of them will ping opponents for each instant or sorcery we play, and the Pyromancer gives us a 1/1 elemental token. So by using these, we're slowly whittling down our opponents using our cards, and before long, that damage is going to add up. Also, take note that the Firebrand Archer triggers off of the casting of non-creature spells, so your instants, sorceries, artifacts, and enchantments, and Ajani will all get you triggers. We also run a powerful win condition that I feel I don't see enough in any Commander or Oathbreaker game, and given our ability to slow down our opponent's game, I feel is a worthwhile include, Approach of the Second Sun. This card is an instant win the second time we cast it, and is an immediate counter on the game. Sunforger is in the deck, obviously, is a powerful tutor engine, and good to stick onto something should we need to tutor for one of our instants. Now, a pair of cards that don't quite fit into what we've discussed so far, but still worth mention, Combustible Gearhulk and the Boros Reckoner. The first, the Gearhulk gives the opponent the choice of giving us 3 card draw, or take damage to the CMC of the combined 3 cards that get milled instead. Both not good options for opponents, but we'll still get a 6/6 speeder, and they're going to be giving us something. The Reckoner is a great variant of our signature spell, giving us something to defend Ajani should we be attacked. We can throw the Reckoner in front of anything that might want to hurt us, maybe give it first strike to survive the attack, and then we get to redirect that damage back at the opponent. It's a very powerful strategy. I refer to you again to the analogy at the beginning of Magic Cylinder. So our mana base, we have a pretty basic package of dual lands. We have Battlefield Forge, Clifftop Retreat, the obvious Command Tower, Inspiring Vantage, Rugged Prairie, and Sacred Foundry. We run Forge of Heroes for getting extra loyalty on our commander, Reliquary Tower to make sure our card draw engine doesn't screw up, and then 5 mountains and 10 plains. That's going to do it for this video. Again, I hope you enjoyed it. Do feel free to give it a thumbs up if you did. Subscribe and stick around a while. We have plenty of Commander and Oathbreaker content on the way. And if you'd like to help us up the ante on our content quality, we have a Patreon that's itching to start recording some gameplay videos, if you're down for that kind of thing. Anyway, thanks for sticking around and hanging with me today. I'll catch you all next time.